So the first thing I want to do is look at my motif and try to find a shape or a section that I might like to use for my architecture design. So here I'm just going to section it off, divide up my motif until I find an interesting shape, an interesting silhouette that I might like to use. I'm happy with the way this looks. I am designing an art center, and I think this is very eye-catching. It has nice height, and as I'm sketching it, I am stylizing and simplifying my shape. So I'm coming up with shapes that might translate more easily into architectural design. So I'm keeping my shape simple, simplifying my motif. And as I go, I'm just editing a little bit, taking out sections that I think maybe I might not include in my design. So here's my overall shape. The next thing I need to do is add some perspective and depth to my shape so that I can start to see this as a three-dimensional form. So I've put my vanishing point in, and I'm using my ruler here to figure out those lines so that I have my perspective just right. I'm now turning it into a 3D form. And you can see I'm having to think as I go along, how could this actually fit together? What might this look like as a 3D form? So I've broken these sections of shapes into different parts of the building. And here you can see on that part of my motif, I think that shape could be an interesting doorway. So I've just added that in as a kind of entrance point to my art center design. And again, I'm just editing. I want to change that, make that look like it just has a bit more visual impact. I want to straighten up that line. So I can start to make these decisions as I go along. I'm also thinking about what sort of materials might this building be made up of. So I'm including the shapes and the lines of those wings, those insect wings that made up my motif. And I'm thinking that could be an interesting sort of glass pane effect. So I think these might be glass, which would introduce lots of good light into the art center. And then maybe I'll shade in these other sections here. I'm just going to straighten this up, make sure my perspective is right using that vanishing point. Okay, so I'll shade this in. This could be a sort of metal at the side of my building. So I'm starting to differentiate between the different materials just a little bit. Okay, for my second design sketch, I'm going to take this shape that I just created, but only using the outside lines. This is going to allow me to create a different 3D structure here. So I'm just using the outside lines. I'm going to use my vanishing point again. And then I'm going to give this shape some depth, which should have a different result than my first architecture design. And I need to think about how deep this building is going to be and trying to keep that width or in that depth the same and keep it even across my design. For this last sketch, I am going to look at the 3D form, the 3D motif that I created earlier. And I'm going to find sections of it that I think are interesting, that might translate well into a building, and in particular this very eye-catching art center. So I like this top section here, and then I think I'm just going to skip down and include this other section and combine the two parts to create my architecture design here. Okay, so I can follow along, look at the 3D form that I created. I'll mimic that in my drawing. Trying to keep that even width all the way around. And as I go along, I can start to think about the function of this building. So maybe this is the ground floor here, and I'm going to split it up into two sections. I'm thinking about what materials this might be made up of as well. So I might have this shiny metal roof, so I can add some tone to communicate that. And then I think I might bring back that effect of the sort of insect wings and the paned glass. So I'm trying to show that here by adding these lines. And of course, think about where my entrance is going to go. I might make some double doors for now. And just adding some final touches and bringing back this glass effect, just again for a bit more visual impact and unity across my design. Okay, and here are my 3 different design sketches that I developed using one motif.